Boxing. When you hear the word boxing, most think of blow after blow, punch after punch, maybe even that final ding when a champion is crowned. However, for one that competes in the sport, it means so much more than just hit after hit. It stands for discipline, hard work, and family. For a sophomore at Western Illinois, this is exactly what it means.
And at 200 pounds from De La Salle High School, we have Chris.
Chris Lisenby is a student athlete at WIU. Chris is a fullback for the Leatherneck football team. But before arriving in Macomb, Chris was a local Chicago kid who loved to box. Though for Lisenby, the journey to put on the gloves came from an unusual source.
I first started boxing when I was in 6th grade, and it was because my grandmother, it's always her favorite sport, was boxing, and the local YMCA, we used to go there, and she was always interested in boxing and talked about remembering it and great boxers and everything. I got really interested into it, so I started boxing because of her and everything, and she's always been my reason for it all. We're pretty close. We're really close, actually. She lives 2 blocks away from my house. We talk a lot. We talk about boxing a lot and basketball a lot.
His grandmother was the reason he started boxing, but she was like most grandmothers when it came to stepping in the ring.
At my fights, she didn't want to watch the fights, kind of like my mom too. She never really wanted to see me get hit, or she'd be up there cheering if I did.
Chris Lisenby has won many matches, actually all of them. He is 18-0 with 8 knockouts. The win that meant the most, though? Well, I'll let him tell you.
Golden Gloves was a pretty big deal for me, just because it was back home in Chicago and the city and everything. It was just a huge thing for me, thinking like I just started out in the YMCA with my grandmother and a boxing coach, and then actually ended up winning a pretty big tournament. And that tournament specifically had a good number of people from my high school, friends from the neighborhood, my family, and like my best friend's family, everything was there. And it was real exciting. I think I was most excited to see my grandmother after I had like my hands raised and everything.
Boxing might come off as intimidating for most. Chris, though, encourages anyone to try it.
It teaches you a lot, teaches you a lot of discipline, and the whole thing around the sport, I like it because it's you and the other guy. There's no timeouts, no backing out, no teammates to rely on or anything. It's just one-on-one, and you've got to mentally be prepared for it and physically. I'd say the last time I was truly nervous about anything in life was my first fight, my first boxing match. I'd say you should try it just because it's something new, it's something different for a lot of people, and it'll show you a lot about yourself. You'll be surprised. Like, you'll be surprised that you get hit or something and you have to stop, or, I mean, you might find out you get hit and, whoa, it's hitting for me, or you fire back and you like it, and it's something you could totally lose yourself in.
Being as good as a fighter as Lisenby was, I'm sure you're wondering, why did he choose school and football over continuing a career in boxing?
One of my last tournaments, my junior year of high school, I had 2 contract offers. I had promoters and people come up to me after one of my fights and talked about it and everything, and it was kind of surreal. But then after I figured it out and actually looked into what they were saying, like I said, I'm signing on for them to represent me and everything. There's no like money guaranteed or anything like that. I'd have to move into their gym and stuff like that to start training. And it's kind of, school wouldn't really be an option with it. So I don't even know if I would have finished high school to continue boxing. That's not a good thing. I like education more than sports because it's reliable, something to fall back on.
Although Chris Lisenby is now a football player at Western Illinois, looking to go to grad school in the area of kinesiology. In the future, after all of his schooling is done, he hasn't completely ruled out a return to boxing, where he would try and continue his perfect record with, I'm sure, his grandmother, who has been his inspiration through it all, at his side no matter what he decides to do. For Inside Leatherneck Athletics, I'm Andrew Bacon.